onto this story now. Advocate Mashhadi Murphy has been appointed as the new domestic spy boss. His appointment forms part of President Cyril Ramaphosa's SONA promise to reform the state security agency. Murphy previously served as an advisor to former mining minister Mwako Ramatlhodi. He also testified, you'll recall, before the Zondo Commission. He claimed at that commission that the then President Jacob Zuma wanted to appoint him as NPA head on condition that he protects him and his allies. Well, he's here to speak to us now about that appointment. Advocate, congratulations are in order, but what exactly does your job entail?
Good morning. My job entails taking charge of the domestic branch of the intelligence agency. And the intelligence agency's job is to ensure that the integrity of our country remains intact by gathering information and ensuring that we protect our country from all unlawful activities which may take place in the country. You know, done properly, we shouldn't be now mourning and crying about a whole lot of other things happening in the country, a lot of counterfeit goods coming into the country, because these are things that we should anticipate and basically be in a position to say we've got to work with other law enforcement agencies by giving them information as to what could be happening, who could be bringing in illicit goods into our country and all sorts of things. So the intelligence agency, executed properly, is a tool which also South Africa as a country needs. In fact, all countries throughout the world, we know that they have this service. And I'm delighted, Jane and Claudia, that I joined the domestic branch. My fellow colleagues welcomed me warmly, and there is generally a very great bank of skills in that agency. Women and men, professional women and men, dying to execute this mandate properly in terms of the Intelligence Act and in terms of our Constitution.
Well, I mean, that's very good to hear, because you've got a lot to do. Many parts of our country, when you talk about integrity, it's been decimated. Where do you start?
I start from the beginning.
What's your focus going to be? What's the biggest concern?
Well, initially the concern was basically what sort of staff complement do I have? And which is what I've already done. And I've realized that there are many men and women of integrity in the intelligence service who are supporting of the process of ensuring that the intelligence agency works to the benefit of South Africans. And to that extent.
Can I just ask this critical question, this one question?
Yeah.
In your view right now,
yeah.
You've served under the previous minister,
Yes.
Dipole Tsatsi-Tuba.
Yes.
You were her advisor. That's the
Yes.
recent Minister of Intelligence.
Yeah.
What would you say is the number one domestic threat right now?
The number one domestic threat is ensuring that our borders cease to be so porous. From all over the world, you know, there's a perception that our borders are porous from our neighboring countries, but our borders are porous from all over the show. So we need to ensure that those who come into our country come into our country lawfully. I mean, we have seen the recent operations where so many people were detained, and when they appeared before our courts, a number of them were not even documented. So that is the biggest threat for any country anyway. And of course, the other threat is that intelligence now in the 21st century is more sophisticated. People bring equipment in the country to come and manufacture illicit materials in the country. So that's the biggest threat which we've got to detect even before they land
But what
in our
about
country.
corruption and how our intelligence services have been corrupted, how politics has crept in? How do we keep that away?
Well, the good thing, as I said, is that my colleagues throughout, the whole spectrum in the intelligence agency now have assured me that they are happy that in this new atmosphere they will be able to do what is supposed to be done by them.
Does that start off with cleaning out some elements in the intelligence services?
Well, basically, I think it starts off by getting the correct political will to say, do what you are supposed to do in terms of the law. And because there is that political will, members are free to execute their mandate without any fear, without thinking that this may be interfered with. And I think that's a great plus.
Advocate, you come into office at a crucial time. You'll recall recently that there was that high-level review panel by the president, which found that there was lots of abuse in the intelligence space. How far have you gone, or how far have things gone in implementing the recommendations of that panel?
That process has been ongoing since the president said he wanted that high panel review report implemented in total. We are now having work streams ensuring that the process of separating the entity into two, domestic branch and foreign, must be completed at the end of this financial year. Come April next year, bar some unforeseen circumstances, we would be having, an independent domestic branch and independent foreign branch. And that's what basically that report says, that separate this so that the one should focus exclusively on its mandate and the other should also do the same. But that does not mean that there won't be any working together of the intelligence services broadly. You know that the police have also crime intelligence services and the defense also, but we've got to all work together so that, we are able to compare notes to protect the integrity of our country.
Jane, I'm going to get into trouble with extending this, but people will forgive us. The advocate has been very vocal on the public protector and her conduct. In fact, you wrote an opinion piece recently. But I want to ask you this in the context of someone who works in that space with the public protector, having previously worked in the state security agency. How should people, South Africans, view her work right now with all these leaks and what have
you? I would imagine that in the previous administration things were done a bit differently. But the institutions of democracy by themselves, I think, have got to be respected, because these are institutions which we need. The incumbents holding positions in those institutions choose perhaps to do and veer off from the mandate. But the institutions, I think, all South Africans embrace. The previous public protector operated differently within the confines of the law and executed the mandate extremely well. So I think in this situation we should divorce the incumbents who are employed here and say the institutions themselves we support. Perhaps there may well be a question of some appointments which have gone horribly wrong.
A diplomatic answer. Thank you very much for talking to us. We wish you the best of luck. You've got a lot of work to do. The newly appointed head